Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Laurie Stern. Join me today for the first episode in a new series here on my show called Why Not Me? When I was inspired to create my show, I had several goals: to connect people to people, connect people more deeply to themselves, and to bring a little more joy into the world by building room for it in each day. I was also eager to tell the stories of people who have gone from tragedy to triumph, sorrow to success, victimhood to victory, hopeless to hopeful, and more. Why Not Me is an ongoing series that helps illustrate how our worst moments may become some of our life's biggest gifts. Join my very brave guests and me as they tell very unique and very personal stories while helping connect us all in understanding the adage, life happens for us, not to us. Why not me? Well, why not you? In addition, like several of my other bonus episodes you'll be hearing, I won't have my usual intro or outro music. And in these segments for Why Not Me, I will not be breaking for joy on the fives. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I am back again with my good friend Kirsten.
Hello.
And I want to honor you again. You were the first guest I had when I started my show. And you are now the first guest I'm inviting to start a new segment for my show called Why Not Me? And so whether you realize it or not, you were the catalyst for the Joy on the Five segment. So thank you very much for that. And fortunately and unfortunately, you are also the catalyst for this segment, because in my work, in all the studying that I've done, especially with Rama, when life deals us a deck of cards that's not so favorable, our first reaction is, of course, understandably, a victim mentality. Why me?
Sure.
And one of the things that she was so clear about in those moments is, well, why not you? Why not me? And so to introduce this segment, the idea is I wanted to tell the stories of people who have gone from tragedy to triumph, sorrow to success, victimhood to victory, hopeless to hopeful, and more. And Why Not Me is this ongoing series that highlights those kinds of stories and helps people illustrate how in our worst moments, we may over time discover our biggest gifts. And so that's the setup for the segment. And so I think when we initially spoke on my first episode, we did talk about the serendipitous way we met, and the unfortunate reason behind it was because you lost your beloved Mark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to bring you on to talk about that, because it was several years ago. I'd like to know how many now. And I sort of, if you'd like to share, want to take you back so that you can share with us any moment that you'd like to share. But the overarching theme being, at what point were you aware that you might be actually able to grow from this? And if so, were there markers that were obvious on the way, or did they just give you little glimmers of hope along the way? Or I'm asking you now, so you're thinking about it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. So take your time.
Yeah, no, it's been 5 years, 5.5 almost. And, it was really rough when it happened. And I think that the first 2 years of all of that was just, in your own bubble. Like you can't really function. It's just not a space where you can function well. You just kind of have to get up every morning and make your bed. And that's a win. If you can do that, that's you've won the day, know? And then you have to keep going. And, at some point, it turns into, okay, now I can make my bed and do one other thing. I can go shopping and I'm fine. And then, so it's just kind of a time thing, I think, too. And, me specifically, I had, I fell into like all the stages of grief, but the one I got stuck in was anger. Mm. And I think the anger that surrounded all of it was just overwhelming. And there was one point, there was very specifically one point where I decided that I couldn't function like that anymore. And it was really stupid. It was just a very stupid thing. I found a screwdriver in the bathroom, and I'm like, why is there a screwdriver in the bathroom? And I went through my entire house, or Mark's entire house, through the garage, gathered all the tools I could find because they were everywhere. I had 5 empty toolboxes in my closet. I threw all the tools on the ground, put all the toolboxes out, and started putting the tools in the toolboxes. And at that point, I could feel my head pop. like that was the most crazy I'd been ever in my life. It was like this insanity that just washed over me, and the amount of anger that I had about putting the tools away was just overwhelming. Mm. And at that point, I know I needed to just sit down and be okay. And it was really, really interesting because I've never felt like that before. I mean, it was insane. I literally thought I was spinning out. Like it was incredible. And I remember it like it was yesterday. So it was one thing that kind of started the pendulum swinging in a more normal, healthier way for me, and that was in the middle of doing all the work with you, and in the middle of doing all the classes, and in the middle of, unfortunately, also in the middle of COVID, and in the middle of selling my house in Glen Ellen. I had to sell that house too. So there was a lot of things that were going on, and that was kind of the culmination of all of this just feeling completely and totally helpless and not understanding why, and why did this happen, and how dare you? Like, how dare you leave? You have no right to leave. you were just, that's not your thing. No, that's a no. Yeah. That was the anger part. I just kept getting angrier and angrier all the time. And it was very bad. It was bad.
Yeah. So, I think I vaguely remember the tool story, but not in the way you told it. I didn't know the precipitating event was the bathroom screwdriver. I wanted to ask you, so at what point in time so Mark died from an aneurysm. So there was no predicting it. There was no warning. It was and it was, what time of day or night was that?
10:30 at night. We were sitting on the couch and we were watching television, and I had my head in his lap, and then all of a sudden he started pushing me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he couldn't get any air. And it was because the aneurysm popped in his lung. So I was calling 911. They came immediately. Highland Park is outstanding for that kind of thing. They're just amazing. I think he did die in the ambulance, though, on the way to the hospital. So, it was at night, like I said, and my child was in college. My other child was in Germany. So, his best friend was in New York, and I called my brother and I'm like, you have to come make some phone calls for me because I can't call out in the hospital and I need to stay here. So he called Mark's parents. He picked up my mother. He called, my kids, and my son came down from school right away. He was in Wisconsin in Whitewater. So he came home right away and met me at the hospital. And then Melanie booked a flight and came over like 2 days later. So it was crazy. His parents showed up at the hospital. His parents were in utter and complete disbelief. I think I've never seen his father get emotional about anything. And he was in the corner crying, and it was really, really hard to see all of that and to experience all of that. And his mother was calm and very reserved and was holding his hand and was doing some sort of praying or something around him. I'm not sure what was happening there, but I didn't leave. I didn't leave at all. I stayed. And then the coroner came in and he's like, you got to go now. We got him, so. And then it was just a question of putting it out there and letting people know what was happening. And I think everybody said exactly the same thing. Everybody was like, are you kidding? Like, there's no way. There's no way. And it was kind of very surreal. The first couple days were very, very surreal. The band was at my house immediately. Like, they were there, all of them. And then people started to hear things, and then they started to come by and they started to, see how I was doing. They tried to send messages, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, but the band was pretty pivotal in keeping me grounded and keeping me focused and not letting that go too crazy. So that was really good to have all those guys there.
Yeah, there was a community memorial for him. I remember, just from the band world too.
It was so his best friend's name's Barry, and Barry came in from New York, and he and Barry had known each other since they were like 6 years old. And Barry wanted to do a memorial service, and he's like, we need to find a space big enough, and we couldn't on such short notice. So we did it at oh my God, what's it called?
Oh, the Shed?
The Shed, yes, thank you. We did it at the Shed. At the
Which
time,
isn't very big.
It's not very, it was packed. It was packed. And I couldn't even move from the front to the bathroom at one point because there were like 400 people there. Yeah. There were people texting me, I'm outside, I can't get in. I just want you to know I'm here. So, I mean, it was insane. It was really crazy. And I was working with Maya at the time, and Maya did all the food and just like kept bringing food over and more food. And it was I mean, it was just crazy. It's crazy when that happened. And I, at the moment, like at that time, I felt a huge outpouring. Like all those people were genuinely, sincerely sorry and sad and hurt and upset, and they wanted to know if I was okay. And then you start to like understand that it's in that moment. And then 2 weeks later, people drop off. And 2 weeks after that, more people drop off. And 2 weeks after that, like everybody's gone. Yeah. So then you're kind of left with it. You're left with it all. And
that's true. I mean, I want just to interject just for a moment, so you went from good intentioned, very well intentioned onslaught, because people also were grieving at the loss of him in their own way. Absolutely. And in that way, when we lose someone, I wanted to ask you, just knowing you how I know you now, was it in your mind, were you able to receive what people were trying to shower you with their love? Or depending on the person, of course, were you equally sort of like, this is so not about you, buddy. I'm here grieving. I don't care what you thought of him. Or did it feed you as it's meant to give you some solace and peace? And then were you able to, sort of let that kind of carry you through when you said people sort of dropped off, as they will and as they do in life, takes over?
So interestingly, that's a really good question. Yes. So in the moment, yes, for sure. The band had scheduled 3 events the next 3 weekends that Mark was obviously not there for. So, but we did the 3 events. Like we did the 3 big, huge shows, just huge shows, 3 in a row, 3 weekends in a row. And I think the most people I've ever seen turned out to those shows, and as homage to Mark, right? So they came because they wanted to pay their respects to me and be there for, in support of Mark, which was really, really nice. And I thought, it was awesome. And that was like the point still where I was fine. Like I wasn't fine, but I wasn't like angry yet. I wasn't at that anger point yet. So yes, I was receiving all that. And yes, I understood the good intentions. And yes, there were some intentions that weren't so pure. A lot of people say things that they don't mean. A lot of people just say things to say things. And, those people I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But the people who really mattered, and the people who really knew him and the people who really knew us, were very sincere in all of their thoughts and feelings and condolences. And I was able to take all that, and that's fine. I think too, it was interesting because I just had Melanie my daughter left me a text message or voicemail because she had listened to the first podcast finally that we did together. And she's like, Mom, your superpower is not that you're authentic. Your superpower is that you like keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, even when like your husband dies, like you're still giving to other people and you make sure they're okay, you know? And when she said that to me, I was like, wow, you know, I mean, I really didn't see it that way, but
Yeah.
But now hindsight, right? I mean, I made sure everybody else was fine. And so I kind of neglected the whole aspect of, wait, I need to grieve now. This is my loss, right? I mean, I lost this guy. You didn't lose this guy. I did. And I lost sight of that, like for a good time, like for like a month and a half, I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Right. Taking care of his brother and taking care of his parents and taking, you know, and his friends, and they were all over the place and they all wanted a piece of me and it was fine. But then when that all stopped, that was when it was like, yeah, now it's starting to not be okay for me. Like now it's a problem. And
so how long was that period, or when was the toolbox moment?
I think the toolbox moment was 3 months after, close to Christmas. I think it was around Christmas time because I remember there being a Christmas tree up. So I think it was close to Christmas. So yeah, like 3 months after, where that's when, you know, people started to fall off. And that's when, you know, you get your core people who are constantly checking on you, which is nice. But then that happened. And then I was like, I needed to really work on the whole, I'm just so pissed all the time, like just so angry. And there were so many reasons for me to be so angry, and all of them were valid, but none of them served me. Like none of them did anything good for me. So that had to be shaken really quickly, but I don't think I shook it very quickly. Like it took me a long, long time.
And so I know you and I worked together, and I know like physically that's when you walked into my class for the first time. We talked about that on the first episode, and how I even remarked in that episode that you had just lost him. And here you were trying to encourage me and invite me to do this women's networking thing for my business. And I was, you know, shocked. And I said that at how giving you are in those moments. And so I agree with Melanie. Therapeutically, were you seeking outside help, like professionally, or were you just convinced you could do this on your own? Because that's also a personal choice.
Yeah, no, I am not a person who seeks therapeutic help. I'm just not. I'm a person who will try things like yoga, things like meditation, but I won't talk to a therapist. I am of the opinion, and I've been proven. I prove to myself that I can do my own shit anytime I want. Like, I'll do it. I'm fine. I can handle it. I got it. I'll do it. This one took a lot longer, though. This one was really a tough nut to crack. And, you know, it took a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort. And, you know, therapy. So that's interesting because I think a lot of therapy, too, is friends, right? You talk to your friends. You talk to your friends about stuff. And I think that's kind of also therapy. When your friends listen to you, when your friends hear you, when your friends go out for a drink with you or take you, you know, or get you hammered because you have to be hammered once, you know, I mean, it just has to happen. So those are all things that I take as therapy. Like that's my therapy, talking to my girls, talking to my friends, my kids, you know, my kids are a big source of strength for me. And hopefully I am for them. I believe I am. But I think that also is a thing that can bring you closer together. And it's also a thing you can work through together. You can't let it break you. You have to try to find a good space where you can work through it and don't get mad at the wrong people. Don't get angry at your kids for doing something stupid, because that's not what it's about, right? I mean, so you just have to kind of monitor all that and try to manage it,
So would you say, because you're discussing, it sounds to me like maybe you had those moments where you recognized you were angry at the wrong person or acting out in that way. Do you recall a time where you're like, wow, I'm really kind of doing that? And would you say that was a lesson learned in ways that you're using now?
I think there were lots of moments like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there were lots and lots and lots of moments where I was acting in a very toxic way towards people who didn't deserve it. And again, that was the anger part, right? And I think that, yes, I started to see it. And yes, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. And I apologized. And I remember apologizing to one of my friends. I'm like, I just can't even believe I just said that to you. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know where that came from. And it's just stuff like that where you have to be aware of it. And I think what I started to do, what really helped me a lot, was just to not say anything, right? I mean, in those moments where I started to feel a little bit of this happening, where everything was coming up in my throat and I just wanted to punch people, I just didn't say anything. And that helped me because I kind of brought it back into, okay, wait, like, let's take a breath. It's fine. Everything's fine. Nobody meant anything. It's in those moments. And I'm sure I jumped at the kids. I'm sure I said some stuff, and I'm sure I barked at them for no reason. And, and I know that my daughter is a very, very feely person. She has big feelings and she wears them outside. And in a lot of cases, she really needed to cry, and she just needed to let go, and she needed to be sad, and she needed to, and it was really hard for me to say, oh my God, I just wanted to say, stop, it's enough. It's been like 4.5 years. It's enough. You don't have to be, but you can't do that.
No.
It's her grief. She needs to go through it, and she needs to go through it the way she needs to go through it. I will say, though, that this whole thing when everybody was going away and dropping off and not really caring about me anymore, it was interesting when I went out and I saw some of these people, and they come up to you with this face, right? This like, oh, I'm so sorry face. It's like, dude, I don't want that face. I understand you're still sad, but I'm trying to get better, and you can't keep pulling me down into your sorrow. You can't do that. Like, I'm trying to move forward, and I'm trying to be in a better spot, and I'm trying to get out of it, and you're pulling me back down, and I can't have any of that. And again, it's not with malice that these people do that. It's with care and with consideration, and they just want to show you that they're also very upset, but don't. That's the advice I have to anybody who has a grieving friend. Don't come up to them with this face. Don't do it. Just sit there and listen. Don't say anything. Don't, if they want to talk about it, cool. If not, cool. Just not the face. Don't come with that face. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many things, how we all react and respond to grief is such a unique thing. And it all depends on how it was demonstrated through our lives, right? Yeah. So death and dying is a scary thing. There's few people, and I'm one of them, who, because this happened when I was little, watching my aging grandmother die, and the hospital smells, and she wasn't right. And I didn't know how intuitive I was then, but I could tell she just wasn't my grandma. You know what I mean? Didn't smell the same. And it was just a scary thing. Yeah. And of course, the guilt that comes up of, well, I should be with her, or my mom's telling me to rub her head. And I don't want to rub her head because it's just not, it's, ugh. But then what do you do? Right. And when someone who's lost someone, it's almost like they're this strange exotic animal all of a sudden that you don't know how to talk to them. Right. And the work that you and I have done together, now, whether you know it or not, how you react to those people had nothing to do with them. They're going to come at you with whatever face they're coming at. And it's how you received it that was the issue at the time. So when we're in those moments, people are going to do what they're going to do. And it's up to us to be real. And in those moments you're like, don't do that. Like, don't give me the face. And then removing yourself or not speaking for a while is self-care. I want to get back to the toolbox because I was meditating before we got on, and I was like, and there's any messages, and I was kind of giggling, no disrespect when you said it, but the imagery and the meaning spiritually of, first of all, why the fuck were there 5 empty toolboxes at all? Exactly. But second of all, you were literally losing your mind.
Yeah.
And in order to really repair, you had to put the tools back in the box. Yeah. It's like Edwina, back in bowl, Edwina, back in bowl. And it's like that methodical getting the anger, but the physical putting of actual tools back in a box and organizing the tools. My intuition is like, and I know you said your head popped off. To me, that was like you were resetting your toolbox. You had to put them all back. You had to gather them from all over the house and then decide what you wanted to keep. And I know you went through giving them away because they're worth a lot of money. And you're like, why the fuck does he have all these tools anyway? But so can you maybe elaborate a little bit, if I'm on the right track, like if that was, obviously it sounds like a breakthrough moment because that's what you came up with in this moment. And so it might be worthy of delving into a little more if you'd like.
Yes. I mean, I totally feel like that was a reset. It was definitely trying to make order out of the chaos and trying to bring the order back to something that you can't control. Like you can't control any of that. And for me, it was very real, a real tangible moment where I was like, I have to do this right now. I have to bring this back to where I can see it in like linear fashion. Like these are the tools that go in this box, and these go in this box, and these go in this box. And that's how it has to be. And it just had to be that because it was just too many other things that were so out of my purview. Like there's nothing I can do about any of it. Nothing. So that was definitely the catalyst for trying to organize my restart, and trying to figure out now what, and trying to figure out, I need to do some real things. Like there has to be some real things now that have to happen. And these are things that you need to manage. And these are things that you have to do. And you have to close the estate. You have to, in my case, I was living in his mother's house. So I needed to sell my house. And I needed to get out of there because I couldn't stay there. So, it was like this now, do this now, do this now, do this now. And it had to happen. And there was nobody who was going to do it for me. And there was nobody who was going to hold my hand through any of it. So you just have to fucking do it. Right. And the toolbox was really the start of, okay, now I can get rid of all the stuff in the basement. Now I can, I'll sell all the gear. I'll sell all the band stuff. I'll sell all of that. Like I got to get rid of it because I don't want it anymore. I don't want to take it with me. I don't want to move it. I don't want to, I knew I had to move. So, that's all stuff that happened and that, it happens to you, but, you need to kind of try to make it happen for you a little bit.
Exactly.
Like,
right. Which is another part of this whole thing. It's like when life happens, it's like you move from the victimhood to taking back your power. So you move from life happening to you to life happening for you, which is why I want to do these segments. And, I feel like that was a gift from Mark, having you find that screwdriver in that moment, because it was like the push that we get from spirit. Because you said, I had to do this shit now. Like you didn't have to. You could have seen a screwdriver and you wouldn't have had the same reaction. But it was like he said, it's move time. It's go time. You've wallowed. You've done your stuff. Be angry. Let it motivate you, and get this organized. So you started putting one step in front of the other, which brings me to another point of how long have you guys worked together? Remind me.
11 years.
Okay. So your kids are grieving too. You're grieving. The community's grieving. Your identity was wrapped up in the work you did together, the way you managed the band, but being his partner. Yeah. So the loss of his life also created the destruction and the dismantling of how you identified yourself. Yep. And I would love for you to share, if you'd like to, again, if you noticed that was happening and how you started to wear new skin, and if you can recognize what might you have held on to a little too long that wasn't serving you in terms of identity, and how you feel looking at yourself in the mirror now to where you were along the way. Because I think that's important, because it comes back to, we've got to get to the point in our lives where we're okay no matter what happens, and shit will happen and we're going to feel awful. We're human. But when we understand how we label ourselves, and sometimes life happens for us to help us understand that we were doing that without knowing it.
Yeah. So yes, I was his partner in life. I was also his business partner for 5 years. We had a company together, and we did do the band stuff. So, his band, I managed several of his bands, and we were pretty much working together 24/7, living together. Everything was together. So we were a thing. We were like a team, right? So when that stopped, I don't know if the word identity is exactly right. And I don't know what the word would be. I don't think I lost my identity as a person. I think I lost like who I was as his partner, which was something different than me though. Like it was still parts of me, but I had other parts of me. And like, I was still a parent, and I was still a mother, and I was still like a friend to people. And I was still like, I was still a volleyball player. I was still I still had like all that I was still very much a part of, that was also me. So it was like, I've dropped, obviously the largest parts of my life were gone, but the other like little bits and pieces that were still part of who I was kind of came together bigger, and kind of helped like refocus and reshift things into what it is now. And I gotta say, like, I'm also in my 60s, which is different if you're in your 40s, in your 50s, and you still have a career. Okay. Like I didn't have a career per se anymore. I had a fun job that I was doing, which was now gone. And so I just kind of needed a job. So it wasn't like I needed to continue a career. My career portion of my life was kind of in the back burner, in the back mirror anyway. Like I was moving towards just kind of doing fun things instead of working 24/7 to get somewhere in the corporate world and, be the best producer I could be. Right. I mean, that wasn't happening. In that respect, I think like where I landed and where I am now, I think that was also fine. Like I was not gonna go back to advertising and be that big career woman. I just wasn't going to do that. It's too much work. It's too many hours. It's just too hard. And I didn't want to do any of that anymore anyway. So that was kind of a decision that I made. Right now I'm in marketing. I'm in social media. I do all the stuff that I like doing. Very creative work. It's a lot of creativity, and it's fine, and it's enough, and it's absolutely okay. Like I don't think I need any sort of big career anymore. I really don't.
So I think you're bringing up several good points. Age may or may not have something to do with it when you lose your significant other. B, knowing you, of course, you have always been the kind of person who has a firm understanding of who she is, no matter what else she is doing. And so unlike other people who literally would lose their whole entire purpose for living for a period of time, you identified several other things. And I loved how you described it, because I just was listening to something, and, when someone loses one of their senses, all of the other senses become more pronounced. And you just described the other parts of your life in that way. I love that.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question I was asking is, in the ways that you were linked for a variety of reasons with Mark, and then when he was removed from your life, I know you didn't want to like just cut off your nose to spite your face and let it all go, but over time, you had to do some things like sell the house. And then there were some other things that you kept going on out of honoring for him. And you and I've talked about, were those things still serving you? And so when you started to notice that, again, I credit you for having the wherewithal to talk about it and to recognize the mild discomfort / maybe for you, your tell is anger. And that's not a bad tell. If an emotion brings you information to make a change, then that's might be the one that comes for you in order for you to make a change. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, frankly. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if the anger really served me at all. I don't think it did. Like, I didn't get any answers out of my anger. I really didn't. I got answers out of other things. Like when I was starting to understand that the anger was bad, like when I put that aside and started really working on like my presence and my just being in my space and being open to other things and other avenues and other people and other thoughts and other feelings and other opinions and other, you just kind of have to reopen yourself a little bit to some things that you may have shut down out of necessity. Like there was a need to shut down, there was really a need to shut down. And then you have to get out of that. And I think everybody does that very differently. And they do it when they want, when they can. They do it when it's appropriate for them. And that's fine. And like I said, the only thing I learned from the anger was that it's really stupid and that it's not stupid. It also serves a purpose. It's like, well, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to be good for you. It's just going to make you angry. It's just going to hurt you and nobody else. Like nobody else cares that you're angry. So you need to let go of it. And that's when I started to learn things. And I think the mindfulness of, landing in a space now where I am now, where I am definitely back to my good old self. I mean, I liked who I was. I really did. And I know that in this 5 years time, it's been like a huge roller coaster of up and down and over and around. And so now I'm back and I like it, and I like who I am, and I like where I've landed, and I like that I lead with my heart, and I'm very mindful and respectful, and I like being here now. And it took a while. It took a lot of work, and it took a lot of energy. It took a lot of energy shifting. It took a lot of, I think we talk about this a lot. It's not that it's going to be perfect all the time. It's never, everybody has a bad day. And today, just case in point, today was just a day where the energy was so weird at the office and so awful that it was just a really horrid day for everybody. And I was like, I needed to leave. Like, I just couldn't be around that anymore. It was like, I got to go. You guys enjoy. I'm out. I got to go talk to Laurie. This is way more important. Get back to Laurie, because this is what I want to do. So, you need to do that too. You need to just kind of leave it, leave it if it's starting, leave it if it's weird, leave it if it's bad, leave it if it's negative, walk away from it, walk away, and then find your joy and try to get back to it, because it will consume you if you let it. And that's the problem. Right.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say that the anger is the gift that you didn't think it was, because it really has been, and it's not just anger. I guess for you, it's mostly like discomfort or disappointment, annoyance, just something that doesn't feel like your set point. And so, like even today, in the way that you described your work, when that starts happening, you are starting to recognize that feeling, whatever that is, in your body, wherever that is, enough to say, I'm out.
Yeah.
And And so I'm not suggesting that it took Mark passing away for you to find that boundary, or maybe it did, but I wanted to ask, were you self-aware prior to 5 years ago in the way that you are now? Were you able to set boundaries and have conversations about your discomfort and recognizing it then the way you can now?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think my whole deal before this was more toxic, I think. I mean, I've always been a very open person. I talk to everybody. I like people. I don't like people, but I like people. I like people enough, whatever.
You like some people.
I like some people. I like some others less. It's okay.
Right.
It's all good. But
normal.
Yeah, it's normal. So I don't think I was really as present as I am now. I don't think so. I think it was different. It was a lot different. It was knee-jerk reactions a lot. It was the anger or whatever, or frustration, or just, God, that was stupid. And it's just, just the whole, my dad would joke all the time that I was the daintiest person on the planet, and he meant it as an insult. Like, I'm absolutely not dainty. I would step in it. I would shoot my mouth off. I would be sometimes it would be really, really bad for me,
Yeah.
And no, I was not like this back then at all.
Yeah.
And probably it did take Mark's passing to figure this out. So
the word that keeps coming to mind is, I thought you were going to say you sort of were like living life on autopilot, if that is resonating at all. And not autopilot, but we're used to a schedule where we take things for granted. But you've said the word presence a few times now. Mm-hmm. And I would say moving from autopilot to just more empowerment and presence is maybe the words.
I think it was chaos. I think if you consider what life was back then, life was me working 24/7. It was me supporting the kids with my salary. It was me having a nanny on my salary. It was me supporting Mark on my salary. It was, I had to work, and I had to work, and I had to work, and I had to work. And then I had to take the kids to their sporting events. And then I had my own sporting events. And then I had, it was just chaos. It was like one thing after the other, after the other, after the other, like it is. That's what it is, right? That's what it is to be an American kid. You get carted from sport to sport to sport by your parents, and your parents have activities that they go to, and plus we had all the music, and then we had all the all of it. And so there was not a lot of time for reflection, and not a lot of time for trying to be more mindful or trying to be present. Although when you have the kids in sports and stuff, you're very present when they're there and they're playing.
Yeah.
And, so there's a little bit of that, but I think it's different.
I just meant more personally for yourself and to yourself, in terms of the way you're able to pay attention to yourself. Mm-hmm. Not that your relationship with Mark didn't allow you to do that. I'm trying to get to a golden nugget of a terrible, terrible situation. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to help the listeners through your story find a little bit of a golden nugget within the story. If there's one or two, I guess, before we end our time together, that you consider golden nuggets, despite, of course, no one wants anyone to die. And you are lucky that you have a community and your friends and your family and the wherewithal within yourself to make the necessary changes to get up and make the bed, and then also go to the store, and then also one step at a time. So wonderful job. No matter how long it took, it got you to where you are. And so without putting any words in your mouth, now that we've had this conversation, is there anything nuggety that you'd like to say?
Oh boy. Yeah, nuggety. That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, everybody handles things differently, right? Not everybody is as stubborn as I am. Not everybody is as headstrong as I am, and if you are that emotional person that needs to cry every 2 or 3 weeks, do it. Just do what you need to do. Do what you need to do to to get to a point where you can function, and then start working on functioning better, and then functioning more joyfully, and then functioning a little more presently, and like try to do that steps at a time. It's never, ever, ever going to happen overnight. And it certainly isn't going to happen in a week. You know, you just have to kind of try to do the best you can. And really some days, Laurie, really that is just making your bed, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And that's fine. And that's fine. And then you have to be okay with that. And then try to move the next day, try to move to doing something different. So, you know, I don't know. I feel like you got to take what you can, make it okay for yourself. Try to expand that a little bit.
Yeah. Know? It's coming to me. And thank you for being patient with being the guinea pig again for this, truthfully, because, you know, the name of this segment is Why Not Me? And so I guess to wrap it up, I would say, Kirsten, this terrible shit happened to you. And so I would ask you, why not you?
Yeah, why not me? I mean...
And so in that way, like, the answer is, well, because I've learned, I've grown. Like, that's how I think I want you to answer.
Because it's taught me so much. Like, it's taught me not to take life for granted, for sure. Right? It's taught me that everything happens for a reason, and people enter and exit your life for a reason. And it's really kind of like, you know, every day is seriously precious, and every day is, you need to try to make it a really good day. And that was the whole Joy on the Fives thing that we magically came up with. And it's really true. Like, you have no idea. You could be hit by a bus tomorrow and it'll all be over. And so you really need to focus on all of the good, and all of the silly, and all of the stupid, and all of the fun, and all of the laughing, and just make that bigger. Like, make that bigger, pull that in, use more of it, look at stupid videos online, do whatever you need to do to, like, laugh, just laugh, because you have to. And you really have to start to enjoy being part of the world again. And that's pretty much what it taught me, is that you can't take anything for granted. You really can't. So you need to hang on to the good things, and the good people, and the good situations, and the good, you know, all that good juju. You need to hang on to it, because it's really fuel. It's fuel to get you into whatever the next thing.
That's true. I think that is wonderful. I'm so grateful that you've agreed to come on and really do this, because it's not easy. And
for you, I do it. For you, I do everything.
Yeah, and we do this because we love each other, and we love to tell our story. And I'm so grateful that you trust me to have you talk about it here with me. And the desire, of course, is to have someone listening to this in a state of whateverness, and they might receive a nugget.
Yeah.
And like you already echoed, everyone's process for grieving is different, and everyone will respond differently. But if we can take a pause and a moment to recognize, just like we've talked about, that life is happening for us, even in the time we don't realize it. And when we're stuck in the why me, that at some point we can look back and say, well, why not me? Because who am I to be anybody else differently?
Right.
And I know the why for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you've identified several of them so graciously and honestly. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you. Love you.
I love you.